The Fix is in. The Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by GV Art and Design. It's not just a shirt, it's a statement. GVArtwork.com.
Sports Fix listeners, don't wait all day or all week to get in on the fun. The party doesn't stop when we go off the air all week long. The Sports Fix social media sites are your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Jump over to Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, and become a fan today because we love fans and they create some of the best sports talk in town, Daddy. You'll enjoy talking to your fellow Cleveland sports fans on the Sports Fix fan page. And if Twitter's your thing, well, you know how we do it. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. It's that simple.
Twitter.com/TheSportsFixCLE, baby.
Chat live with the crew during all your favorite Cleveland sports events, tickets and contests and trivia and so much more. Get with us today, The Sports Fix on social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. Join the Sports Fix on Facebook and Twitter today.
Hey Cleveland, this is Anderson Varejão of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You are listening to the Sports Fix.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Well, howdy do, everybody. Welcome in once again to the Sports Fix. J-Rock here, kicking things off Thursday. It feels strange because to me it's Tuesday, but to the calendar it's Thursday. We're already almost done with the week. I could get used to this. I stop being lazy, but I could. I mean, I'm just saying. I think you could too if you could turn your Monday through Friday into Wednesday through Friday. But I can't get used to this. But I am going to enjoy the short week this week. We're here. A lot going on today. Of course, Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTryWinLastNight.com joins us on Thursdays. He's with us here today to talk about all things going on with the Cleveland Indians. He's got an interesting article on Nick Swisher and where the future holds for him with the Indians here on his website, DidTheTryWinLastNight.com. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the young guys getting some playing time. Some people like it, some people don't. And we will, there we go. Things are starting to go crazy already. But I caught it, nipped it in the bud. See, you do this for a while, you catch them. But not only Mike Brandenberry going to join us, Dr. Football, he's usually with us. Bill Check is with us on Tuesdays. We weren't here on Tuesday, so just like John McMullen yesterday, Bill's going to join us here today. Can't wait to talk to him about all the latest going on around the NFL with the Browns, and I want to talk to him somewhat about the penalties that I saw in that first week and the way things are being called, and we'll talk about all things going on. The Brian Hoyer trade, that one is, we'll get into that here. I just cannot believe, I don't want to do it now. We're getting started with the show, but I just cannot believe that the same people who want the Cleveland Browns to be successful also want them to go into the season with the rookie quarterback and Rex Grossman. Listen, man, I don't like that Rex Grossman is the number 3 quarterback on my team. Like, I would have preferred that they hired him to a coaching position because then there's no chance of him actually getting on the field and playing some ball. But whatever. Some people want to convince themselves that the Browns Brain Trust, who you trust so much, has come up with the genius plan of shipping Brian Hoyer out of town in place of Rex Grossman. Let me tell you, had that been where this was going to end up, they would have started that process a long time ago. And again, I get people, well, you can't have a disgruntled Brian Hoyer doesn't have a disgruntled bone in his body. As people call him, he's a career backup. So I'm pretty sure that if he lost the job to Johnny Football, what he would do is coach the kid up all season long the best he could, because that's what Brian Hoyer does. That's why he's on this team. If he's not going to start, that's the other benefit that he brings you, is having him to help tutor. Well, it turned out to be Johnny, but whoever that next guy was going to be. You cannot possibly think that they would trade Rex Grossman for that. I mean, if anything, if you don't have any respect for Brian Hoyer as a starting quarterback, you definitely do as a backup and as somebody who can help prepare the guy week to week and help him do the things that he needs to do to be successful. But we're going to replace that with Rex Grossman, and then we're going to be one we're going to be one Johnny Football scramble away from Rex Grossman. Sexy Rexy, that's right, quarterback in your Cleveland Browns. And these are the same people that want to tell you that they're Browns fans. I think you're sabotaging yourself from within, and I just can't believe people are crazy enough to believe that. Like, it'd be one thing if this was a viable other quarterback, but man, we're talking about a guy who spent the last 3 seasons as the number 3 quarterback on teams. He hasn't been itching to get out there. He hasn't exactly been complaining about being the number 3. This guy hasn't seen live bullets since 1973. And I'm exaggerating, obviously, but seriously, fellas, come on, man. And I don't believe there is a hint of reality to it. It's the story that the media created because they need to get on with Johnny Football season. They need the national media particularly, although the local media is pretty sharky about this too. They want to dispense with the competition and just anoint. And that's the other thing too, is all of these people who say, oh, well, Hoyer's this and that. He's no good. He's a career backup. Who's that guy? He's nobody. Johnny Football's the guy. The fact that Manziel's still struggling to beat him out, say what you want about Hoyer, put that into perspective about Manziel as well. I'm just simply saying. So take it for what it is, and we'll talk more about it later. But, man, I saw that last night all up and down my timeline and people talking about it. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I get it. Some of you want Manziel. Some of you want Hoyer. Like, that's always, every year, there's always a split. And it's cool. There's nothing wrong with having your guy. But I can't believe that anybody in their right mind, I mean, clearly these are people that remember having Rex Grossman on their fantasy football team like 7 years ago when he threw for a good season. And they're going, oh, yeah, Rex Grossman is good. They forget the fact that the last time he played with a football, it wasn't even oblong. It was still, round. But, regardless of that, man, I mean, I'm having some fun at Rex Grossman's expense. I'm not a big fan of his at all. But come on, I just cannot believe that people really float that and believe that that's a possibility. I just cannot believe it, man. And then you watch some of the national media as, Mike Pettin tried to knock it down, and he blatantly put it down day to day this week. 3 days in a row, he tossed that story to the side. And yet I saw on Pro Football Talk, those goofs found a way to write up his quotes and say, but he left the door open. And I'm like, yeah, he left the door open today because he closed it on Monday. You know what I mean? Come on, man, get out of here with this stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, really, do you really believe, those of you that think that there's a reality to this, do you really believe? And number 2, do you really, seriously, the same people that put no value in Brian Hoyer in this competition, that call him a career backup, they call him a nobody, they call him a bum, whatever you want to say. But now those same people think that he has this massive trade value. You can't have it both ways. If he's going to bring you an upper draft pick, an Andre Johnson, which that's just crazy, you're going to trade out a quarterback who can fill any spot, anything you do, and he's cheap as hell, and you're going to trade him for a $35 million headache who knows how much you're going to get out of him. Get out of here. But the same people that'll devalue Brian Hoyer will then revalue him in a trade. So apparently he's worth nothing to Cleveland, but he's gold to all of the other teams that need quarterbacks. I'm like, listen, man, the Browns need quarterbacks too. I know some people don't believe that. They think that the future's been drafted. The future is the word for that. The future may have been drafted, but it ain't here and it ain't now. So, well, we'll get into more of that. See, I already got going because I got hot about that, man. And yeah, Bruce in the chat room just reminded me, that's the other thing. 2 different places I saw, NFL Network and Fox Sports, they rate Hoyer as the 10th best backup quarterback in football. And I'm like, well, you know what? You can say that because you think Manziel's the starter. Manziel can't even beat out the 10th best backup in football according to your numbers. So tell me what that means for him. I'm going to go back to what I said weeks ago. I've watched every day of this competition, and so have you. And if you are being honest, you are saying, wow, Johnny Manziel's putting some work in and making some strides, but he is not yet on the same level as a polished quarterback as Brian Hoyer. I mean, the only people not saying that are people that aren't watching it, that are listening to the radio, letting somebody else tell them what they think, and they're believing it. They're not seeing it and looking at it for themselves and looking at what objective observers are seeing as well, because there are some people that, and I'm not sitting here telling you that Brian Hoyer is going to set the world on fire. All I'm doing is comparing the apples to the apples. I'm not talking about bigger picture stuff, you guys, and I'm not bashing Manziel, because I agree with what John McMullen said. Had he come in with his nose to the grind from day one when he got drafted, I don't think Brian Hoyer is in this position now, because he would have worked his way through. You know what I mean? But he didn't, and Brian Hoyer took advantage of that. And I honestly think that it may be the best thing for Johnny Manziel's career for Brian Hoyer to be named the starter. Not because he'll get hurt, not because he'll lose games, because he lost the competition, and he knows why. He can go home after the final depth chart is set, and he can go, damn, if I'd have put my nose to it, if I'd have got to it right away, I would have blown this guy out of the water. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what you tell yourself. I know how you hype yourself up. And guess what? Him not being the starting quarterback in week number 1 will definitely make a difference in how he prepares for season number 2, season number 3, going forward. And then, hopefully, he becomes the guy you want, and 10 years from now, he's teaching that lesson to the guy that the Browns draft to replace him. And, of course, that's way in the future. But you know what I'm saying? I think it could be the best thing for him, because then he knows exactly why the opportunity was not taken advantage of. So, but forget all of that. To think that Grossman, like if they had gotten a relatively competent number 3 to where you go, okay, this makes sense. But like Rex Grossman, Shanahan has had him with him several times, and the last few, it's been as a number 3. It's not like Shanahan brings him in and says, you're my safety blanket. No, you're my third quarterback. You're the guy that if everybody goes down, like John McMullen said yesterday, if you're down to your third quarterback, you're screwed anyway. It doesn't matter what happens at this point in time. But just the fact that people believe that, man, I'm like, come on. Because if you believe that, that's an indictment on this front office and on this entire coaching staff, because if they would make a decision that foolish and stupid, to be honest with you, they all got to go. They all got to go. But we'll get into all of that, guys. See, I got rolling here. I was hot about that, man. And we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about everything. Let's get rolling. Hey, this is the Sports Fix. I'm your host, the Big Daddy on the microphone, the conductor of the madness, J-Rock, Jerry Myers, with you guys here across the Sports Fix Radio Network, live on TuneIn, tunein.com, and the radio application, and live on the sportsfix.net and Spreaker and Mixler and their mobile apps. And we are, of course, on digital delay 24/7 on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and all of the other podcast and download formats. Hey guys, thanks again for being with us, like hopefully you do each and every weekday at noon here, and be a part of the show. I'm going to open up the phone lines now. They're going to be jammed in the middle of the show, and then we'll open them back up at the end. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. 216-539-7535. If you can't get to the phone, as always, get on the Facebook. Get on the Twitter, baby. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Email us, the Sports Fix at AOL.com. Stay in touch with the show, you guys. And like I said, I'm going to open up the phone lines now. 216-539-7535. A couple of things that I wanted to get into before we roll into the next break. I always love when people are sending me messages and they go, oh man, you're on air. Yes, I am on air. So unfortunately you got to wait for me to respond. But, as we roll on with the show, a couple of things that I want to get into. Then I'm going to take a break. We'll talk some Indians as they played 2 games yesterday, and what do you know? They won 1 and they lost 1, and then they shouldn't have. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I want to talk about a couple of things real quick. First off, and this is all jest and joking taken out of my voice. This has nothing to do with sports, and I really meant to start right off the top with this, but what in the hell is going on in Ferguson outside of St. Louis? Like, I'm watching video last night. thinking that this is coming, not obviously I knew where it was coming from, but it looks like this stuff is coming from another country. This is not America. What in the hell was going on? I'm telling you, I've seen some stuff go down with that here this morning, where other police forces now are actually going to step in and take over policing the town. But for those of you guys that followed along with that or saw what was going on, I mean, I had no clue until I follow a lot of different journalists. I follow a lot of AP guys, a lot of different newspaper guys, Washington Post, New York Post, and I'm doing some sports fix work yesterday, and all of a sudden, man,